What's up, everybody? It's Tuesday night. That means it's time for the sesh. What's up, Peter Martin?
What's going on, Adam Maness? There is a gentleman on the screen with us that I am super excited about who is sitting there. I'm kind of nervous. I'm excited. And I'm always excited to see you, Adam. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to jump over that.
It's been several months now. I'm sure you're not that stoked. So, yeah.
No. I'm super excited. It's so fun every week. But I'm so excited tonight because I've been digging this album that we're going to listen to, and we have the artist, the man himself. And I just want to give a quick introduction. We have so much music to get to, so many stories. I got so many questions for this guy. I'm sure you do too, Adam. I'm sure the folks do. So we want to get to it, but I just want to give a quick introduction. Peter Bernstein is guitarist extraordinaire, also friend extraordinary, father extraordinaire, and really just a genius of music. And it's weird to say that because it's my pleasure to say I kind of grew up a little bit with him in my early mid 20s up until now. And every time I've been able to interact with him musically over the years, it's just been a joy, but even more so as a person. But when I do get a chance to sit back, I've been listening to this record for the last couple of weeks. And when I get a chance to sit back and listen to it and just marvel at his artistry and then think that's the guy that I'm hanging with and that's my friend for so many years, it's even more of a joy. So he really needs no introduction, ladies and gentlemen. That's Peter Bernstein. What's up, Peter?
Thanks, guys. Thank you, guys. It's really nice to be here. I'm very honored.
Thank you so much for doing this, Peter. So do you all remember the first time that you met, that you played together?
Well, I remember meeting you through I remember meeting you at the New School. It must have been around 88, 89. Because you grew up with Spike Wilner.
Yep. I think it was 88.
Yeah, you knew him before he was even Spike. He was just Mike.
I knew him.
And I met him. Mike. Yeah. So I remember he brought you, and I had known of you. You were doing some gigs already, and you were out there. But Spike had told us about. Oh yeah, I grew up with Peter, and so when you finally came to the school, and I remember just meeting you there and playing a few tunes. But it wasn't really that much. I mean, looking back on that time now, 30 years ago, it was only 5 years later that we were like on the road together for a good chunk of time, a year and a half. I mean, that was really my first road experience playing with Joshua Redman's band. You were there, Chris Thomas, Brian Blade, and that was really, you were much more seasoned with traveling and had been with that band already for I guess a year or so. But man, that was just such an experience, just being out there, like going to places in like Kansas and around the country and just to, Europe, places I'd never found myself before. And I remember really experiencing just that life a little bit for the first time with you and all those guys, so it's a special time for me,
Well, no, it was for I think for all of us, definitely for me. And it was so funny because we might've seen a little more seasoned travel wise, but you were so much more seasoned music and life wise. You were like, you talk about like how you never really left this 10 block square radius on the Upper West Side since you were a kid. But it just happened to be you were in that one zip code where everything in the world happens and comes to you. So there was a little bit of that. I remember we traveled when you were like, wow, I've never seen this before outside of my neighborhood every day growing up. It was kind of fun,
Right. No, it was definitely musically a new experience just to be playing every night with, and it was, you guys had some road chops, and I was just packing, just traveling, just like you guys made fun of my bag, my carry, probably because I kept forgetting I had a carry-on bag and would just walk away from it once a day at least,
That's right.
It's just crazy. This things like that,
No, it was great times, and it was you came into that situation. And we were fairly tight just because we've been playing together a lot, especially Chris and Brian, New Orleans as a trio, and then Josh and his music is so well orchestrated.
You'd been playing it for a while, and you knew it.
Yeah, but you just kind of came in and really breathed new life into it. Because I remember when Josh first told us, he's like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about bringing a guitarist in the band." We were like, "What? No!" And then it was like, "Well, Peter Bernstein." We're like, "Oh, okay. Well, that might be cool, but still, guitar."
Guitarist. Yeah.
But you came in and it was such a, Josh really had a vision for it, and you made yourself known right away. And we had that was really the period when I learned to play with guitar. And I always say, people always asking me, and I played with some other great guitarists, but
Yeah.
you were really the first great guitarist that I played with regularly. And so when people are like, wow, you play so well guitar, I was like, I learned it from Peter Bernstein. It's easy. It's
Wow.
easy. It's not like, to learn as a pianist how to play with a bad guitarist. Now that's hard. To learn to play with a great guitarist is super easy, So I'm always like, it's funny when people compliment me on that, because I'm like, when you learn to play with a guitarist that's listening as well, it's such an exciting thing.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I felt the same about you. It was easy. I definitely felt like, well, Josh had an idea kind of to have me as playing melodies with him on the front line. So I had like a little role to play. But as you say, you guys were so tight as a trio. I definitely, and this is something I always recommend to guitar players, like, don't disturb the vibe that the cats have if they have a vibe. Don't just come in there and try not to just, trespass music, sonically on the situation. So I just was trying to find my spot. But I remember those days, and really like looking back on it as like kind of like a junior high school of my musical life, like you're kind of awkward, and trying to, fit in a little bit and learn and grow. But it was like, it was a deep time. I mean, I think looking back, I could see clearer now what Josh was maybe thinking than I was aware of then at the moments, and I just remember playing with you guys and like, these guys aren't really bogged down by like wanting to sound, like the old cats or authentic or anything. Like I remember I had to drop some things that as just a young musician, I was in the process of dropping, to kind of just like aesthetic things that I thought were important, and I realized that really what's important is every band finding their own sound, you know what I mean? And I was always remember feeling like in retrospect, I was trying to relate it to like, what should I play like on this tune? What should I play like on this tune? And, that was, just inexperience or maybe insecurity as a musician on my part back then. But, we were young. We were like barely 30 years old, right? I mean, not even 20. Right.
Yeah, we were 20 something.
20. I think I remember it was like, I remember maybe I turned 30, after, right after we kind of stopped playing. I was in my late 20s, but it was a great experience, man. I look back on it all the time now and just think like, God, I was a different person, but it's long enough
when you look
ago.
at the shirts that we were wearing, when you look at the clothes we were wearing, that's what
the
we really
shirts. Oh man. Yeah.
The shirts were so big. That was the big shirt era.
Oh no.
Everything was big except our sense of style. That was the only thing.
Exactly. Oh god.
Oh, man.
But I have some unfortunate.
Oh, go ahead, Burns.
I was just saying I have some unfortunate shirts that are on record covers. So there's no go. I mean, a picture here and there is one thing, but a record cover like that's you were trying to make a statement and.
Well, it's guaranteed that your most unfortunate shirts are going to make the album cover. They're the ones that stand out. That's a guarantee.
But what's funny? I remember seeing like your early crisscross, because I mean you're like the quintessential crisscross artist. I don't know if have been on more albums than anyone, but you've got to be up there certainly for guitar.
Yeah, for guitar, he didn't use that many guitars. I just got to play with a bunch of different organ players and a few different groups and. Yeah, I mean that was just I lucked into that, so I was able to be on I don't know maybe like 40 crisscross dates or something. It's crazy, but it was just like Jerry Tickets would come to New York City around December. It was like Christmas time. A few record dates for your for your stocking.
Well, that's the funny thing. If you were on 40, but that was only 8 days. It was probably like 5 records per day, so it was only 8 days of recording.
It was one day. It was one day, one rehearsal day, and one day. Yeah, he was trying to keep that tradition alive of what he remembered hearing about what Blue Note was like. The guys have to rehearse for a day, and then do the date one day. They shouldn't need more.
Right.
Well, Peter,
I want to get into that more, some of your classic records, but we're gonna let's jump into this record because I really feel like I want to. Let's check out a track, and if you want to set this up a little bit, Peter, the first one. But I really feel like it's funny you talk about crisscross, that this is kind of a culmination. Look at that. If you can see the cover, can you make that any bigger, Adam? This is like Peter Bernstein crisscross 4.0 right here. This is like you talked about junior high school before. Now you're in grad school. You're a postdoc right now. But I love. Is that
crazy,
Jimmy Katz?
Yeah.
The photography on this.
Jimmy Katz. Yeah. They actually photoshopped. There were a few cars on the street, and they photoshopped them out of the picture. They told me later, I'm like, wow, because it was 72nd Street, right where Central Park is. So, but there was cars and buses. He told me to go out in the middle of the street. You know, I was like, okay, I don't want, you know.
Oh,
I was just thinking.
Means it was actually Dina. Dina probably actually took the picture then, right?
Nope, Katz was there, but Dina was. She was. You know, they're a team. They're artists. They're artists. Yeah. But I was thinking at the time, probably around that shot, like, you know, I know I'm going to call the record. What comes next? I remember thinking, I hope it's not a bus, because it was just like there was stuff. You know, the light would change, and I have to get off the street. So anyway.
Let's have a listen to the first track. This is Peter Bernstein's latest album, What Comes Next, with Sullivan Fortner on the piano, Peter Washington on the bass, Joe Farnsworth on the drums. This is the
bunch of hacks on this record.
Bunch of slouches on the record. This is the opening track, Simple as That.
All right.
Yes. That's Peter Bernstein, Sullivan Fortner, Peter Washington, and Joe Farnsworth with Simple as That from Peter's new album, What Comes Next. Peter, I wonder if you could talk a little bit about how this album came about, because, you know, we're listening to music here every Tuesday. We're listening to a lot of new music, and this is the very first album. I think, Peter Martin, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is the very first one we've listened to that was recorded in 2020.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
So when did you record this? How?
It was in June, like late June. And so, we were all just everyone was kind of hunkered down. Here in New York City, the worst time really was kind of April and May. Things started up again a little bit in June, kind of. But everybody was, still in the early stages of being freaked out. And then I just got a chance to record Paul Stash from Smoke Sessions Records, and he's the guy that they also have the jazz club Smoke. Said that he had heard from the studio, Sears Sound, and they were open. I guess they were calling their clients to say we're open, for distance recording. And so Paul was just thinking, like, why don't we book a few days and see who wants to do some record dates? I mean, it's it was his thing, and I just had a chance to record, get some guys together, and I figured, why? I'm not doing anything else. It's like a chance to put my energies to something. And I just looked at it as like, first I was like, really, you're gonna make records now? Like, we don't know what's gonna happen or whatever. But so I just couldn't pass up the opportunity to as out of shape and kind of already getting soft as I felt that I was, why not get a chance to record? You take it. So, and I knew everybody was like available and around and not busy or doing anything.
There's no
else.
excuses.
Right,
There's no excuses. Yeah.
You got to answer the phone.
It was fun. Yeah, I had just seen like a Smalls had just opened in early June, and Farnsworth I think played the first stream since they had closed in March, and it was Jeremy Pelt and who was playing piano? I can't remember now. And Peter Washington. And I was like, wow, I just remember writing sending Peter a text saying, saw you on the live stream, sounded beautiful, and love to play with you sometime again. And when there's some more gigs, and he's just like, I'm around, call me. And then I was like, of course, now you're around. Now there's no gigs to be had. And then like a week later, Paul's like, hey, you want to do a record date? And I thought, yeah, Peter Washington's around. Let me just so it worked. It just worked out.
I'm surprised he was around even then. It's Peter Washington. I'm surprised he wasn't like, no, I'm on the road.
He's always got something. On the road. Yeah. No, but it was deep.
I was going to ask how you came up with this combination. Like, what was the genius behind it? But now I realize it was like, they asked you to do the record. You're like, well, who are the last guys I saw on the internet? Let me just call them up.
That's right. Right. That's right. No, actually, Sullivan and Joe Farnsworth and Doug Weiss and I played actually at the Vanguard that second week in March. We finished on March 15th after the city the city basically shut down. And the Vanguard was kind of stay open for the rest of the week, but then everyone knew by Friday night that everything was closing. And it was a surreal week. And that was the last time I played music with people, without a mask on in March. And it was with Sullivan and Doug Weiss and Farnsworth. So Doug Weiss was out, and he went to Germany, I think, shortly, like sometime in the end of March. And he was there. He's been there ever since he's got a new lady over there. So he's in Berlin. So I was like, well, we need a bass player. So Peter Washington was around. So that was how the combination, came together. And I know, of course, when you play with a drummer or a bass player, you want to think, who do they like to play with and who are their people they would call. So.
Right. Well, and it's funny that it's funny that you're even saying that, you guys came in and you hadn't played in a few months and you weren't sure how it was going to be, because in listening to this record, and I think this is, I don't want to put anything on our listeners' ears because everyone needs to take it as they would. But to me, this is like a classic, Peter Bernstein swing in, a couple nice grooves, like just tour de force, really. I mean, in a lot of ways, kind of a culmination, but an extension of all of your other records. I mean, I've followed you not only when we were playing, but just always enjoyed your records and what you did. And to me, far from this being a drop off, to me, this is like a very strong statement. I mean, even if you hadn't showed up tonight, I was going to say the same thing. So it's not just because you're here,
I appreciate
but
that.
I think that really, it bears it out in the music. So it's funny how maybe our perception when we get in the studio in funny times and we're like, well, we don't know what's going to happen. A lot of times that's not how it sounds to the listener.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't thinking that so much like how is it going to sound, as much as I was just kind of feeling like, man, it's so nice to have some place to go and play. Like just to leave the house with my guitar was like an emotional experience because, we used to go everywhere together. We used to go, and then, all this through these months, March or April and May, and, the guitar she knew, it's like, well, how come we don't go anywhere anymore? How come you never take me anywhere anymore? And so this chance to play in June was like, okay, we're going to make a record. So it was just kind of like, I felt, and then of course afterwards I'm like, well, God, I mean, I felt, just like a little out of sorts, but yeah, I mean, sometimes if you're really in shape and you're playing with a group a lot, and then you put too much pressure on yourself at the date to get the perfect take of every tune. Like I kind of felt like, and the guys hadn't really played some of these tunes. Peter hadn't seen any of them really. So they were kind of dealing with some new music, and they're just pros. Like they can't help but make it feel good and get put the vibe on it, so. And that's that, it was just, we had some time, but it wasn't even like a regular leisurely day in the studio. It was like, we got to kind of get out of here in 5 hours because of, the thing that's, been invading our lives for the last month. So
this was a 5-hour session?
Basically, yeah, because we couldn't really, people didn't want to hang out that long indoors.
Right. No, I get it. Yeah.
It's still weird out there. Yeah. That's amazing though. 5-hour session. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it went fast, luckily. And of course we had I had some standby standards we could play if the originals just really weren't coming together at all. But, they weren't very difficult, certainly by today's standards. But, when you have one day, you never know. And you just never know how things turn out. But
well, this makes it even more. I figured it was a one-day session, but the way the record unfolds, and just eager to hear more of it now. But the way it unfolds, it's so like leisurely and just it's almost like opulent in a way. The sound is killing, and just the solos are patient. There's a lot of listening. I think Sullivan brings such a maturity, even though he's a young dude. He brings such a maturity to everything around him. That's a great element as well.
Man. We're gonna have a Sullivan Fortner appreciation moment after this next track.
Let's
check out the title track. What Comes Next from Peter Bernstein's new album.
Yeah.
Bernstein, Sullivan Fortner, Peter Washington, and Joe Farnsworth. It's happening, man. Question.
That's New York jazz, right? That's New York City jazz, right? You know what I'm saying? That's New York City jazz.
That's how they do it up there. What were you kind of working on these tunes, leading up to this, or was this one of these things where it's like you get the call and you're like, I need some music?
Well, I actually that one was written. That was the newest tune. That was written maybe a few weeks before the date. Not necessarily for the date, but I kind of had just finished it. And the next tune, the ballad on the record, I had written in April sometime. But the other tunes were written. Simple as that is actually an old tune. I recorded it 10 years ago or something more on a record date. And the other ones were newer tunes. I hadn't recorded them yet, but I had finished them. And so they were like my plan. When I get another record date, I want to record those and whatever else I'm thinking about at the time. I don't plan too far ahead, but I do think about what if I got a chance to do a record date next week, what would I play? I'm always kind of thinking about that sometimes when I practice too. Like, what am I practicing? Like, I want to prepare for a chance to make some music. So it's not always all originals, and a lot of times the originals I write now dealing with doing record dates. The reality of it is like, well, I don't want to write a tune that people aren't going to be able to like play, put their thing in quickly. I don't want it to be so difficult or so, at the same time, you don't want it just to write something that has no personality whatsoever. So it's a fine line of trying to find a tune that has a little bit of its own vibe, but isn't so like people can't just kind of sit down and the fun of it to me is playing your music with different people and having it kind of be a little bit different with different people. Yet hopefully the tune retains some kind of identity. So that's the challenge, and just trying to write tunes that I think I would want to, people would like to play. Eventually, maybe they might, sometimes
future standards we call those.
Well, that's. I mean, just not the future to be just thrown in the dumpster, like the tune that people are going to want to play, that you're going to want to play. You know what I mean? That's kind of the idea too. And a lot of times we'll write stuff that's a little beyond us, which is healthy because that's how we kind of. Well, I want to try to play some stuff like that. So you try to write something like that, so to force you into that.
But you know what, man? You've always had a knack for that. I mean, one of your early standards, Jive Coffee. Like that's a tune that's like so fun to play. Everybody.
That's because T for two is fun. That's a contract. But it's a way to like reconfigure it. That's the thing too about dealing with a form like T for two. It's so structurally perfect already. So you can kind of do a lot with those tunes and the structure holds. But that's the thing. It's fun you want to write tunes that are fun to play because the actual written part is only like maybe a minute, and then the rest of it is just like, what's the form? What does it feel like to, take this little course over and over again, or
so you've always had a great feel and understanding for composition. I remember we did a gig years ago at Snug Harbor together in New Orleans. I don't know if you remember this. You came down. It might have been your first time. Well, it was definitely your first time.
I think so.
Because I remember.
You were still living there then. Yeah.
Right. And so, So it was at least 15 years ago, probably 17 years ago, 27, 30, who knows? But I remember I had written this tune, Unusual Suspects, and we both kind of like, brought some tunes. And it was the same kind of thing where it was like, let's get some standards, maybe some tunes that are fun to play. And I remember you played it and just kind of killed it. I think we did like a clinic at Noka or something. And you were like, man, I love that tune. He's like, man, blues with just like a nice down home blues with just a couple of tricky chords. You got it, man. Like you saw right through everything immediately. But like you really understood the essence of what it was. Yeah. No, it was just hip. Like you have a real composer's mind. I think a lot of good improvisers do, great improvisers. But you've always like clued into that well. When to go to a vamp, when to stay on a vamp because it feels good, all that kind of stuff. It's important.
Well, let's keep it rolling, guys.
Okay.
Up next is Empty Streets.
Wow, another slow tune. Okay, yeah.
I think we know what this is about.
All right.
That's Empty Streets from Peter Bernstein's new album, What Comes Next. You guys, I think we might be onto something here with this Sullivan Fortner, Peter Washington, Joe Farnsworth rhythm section. That's good stuff, man.
For sure.
Yeah,
that is good stuff. So, Peter, you're going to have to bear with Peter, Martin, and I here as we geek out a little bit on Sullivan Fortner and the colors that guy can get on the piano. To me, that's, I don't know what you guys think, but for me, that's what's so special about him. It's an instrument that, like, when you think how every color has possibly been pulled out painstakingly and lovingly by, composers from the 17th century on, and so some of the great musical geniuses ever, and then you hear someone do sounds, you're like, I didn't know piano could sound like that. It's pretty awesome.
So what are you trying to say, Adam? You liked it? You felt like you could do some improvement? You're being unclear here.
I could do it, but I don't want to, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was thinking, Peter, how do you feel about, Sullivan plays a lot. Like, he's comping a lot. He was doing like the stuff where you guys were kind of in unison and in thirds and stuff. Like, he was playing his left hand, a bunch of things, but it works, like, he's out of your way when he needs to be, but he's playing, like, he's not afraid to play like some pianists are with guitarists. But how do you guys kind of navigate that on this record, or did it just happen?
Well, I just think he just has a very natural way of filling space or creating space. I mean, you can do either depending on the density of what you do. So yeah, he just has a beautiful, like, kind of offhand way. So when he is being dense or playing something that's active, should we say, it still just kind of floats out there and doesn't cover up any other sounds. It's always something about his sound, and that's, I think it's just anybody on any instrument. It's kind of, that's what it comes down to. It's just about the touch. Now, of course, he's dealing with some. I mean, as pianists, you guys are probably coming in like, pianistically, what's happening, because there's a way to play that instrument, many ways to play that instrument, just like there's many ways to play the guitar. But I just think it's about the way he hears stuff and the way he deals with space. He can fill up stuff and orchestrate fully, or he can really be spare and know exactly what to play that's effective.
That's great.
There's a good keys player here in the comments, Federico Pena.
Federico, what's up?
Knows a little something about this. Says he's always playing, and yet he's like a good ref in a boxing match. Out of the way, sometimes one can achieve a goal by doing the opposite.
That's true.
It's
true.
Yeah,
I'm seeing all these comments just now for the first time. Like, I didn't realize there were so many. Is there a way to respond to them, or no? No.
I think you can do that.
Just say whatever you want to say now.
Yeah. Oh, I see. Well, no, I was just looking down them.
Yeah, Peter, if you just go into your YouTube and find this stream, you can comment as you in there. Yeah, I don't know if you can do it from how we're streaming it on your end.
I see.
But I'm gonna throw a couple of softball ones at you, but these are important questions. So if you don't mind, because this is from Adam's beloved mother. Hello, Mom. Deborah Maness would like to know. Oh, Dad would like to know about. This is just like moms to ask on behalf of the dads, because is Dad shy, or he doesn't know how to log in.
Well, Dad's a guitarist. Dad's a guitarist. So the first question's got to be about the guitar itself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So.
It's a guitar made by this guy, John Zeidler. He was a great luthier from Philadelphia who passed away almost 20 years ago now. But he made this guitar in 1981. And it's just an arch top. There's no hole for the pickup. The pickup is floating, so it's an acoustic instrument. I got it in 1998, and I've been just kind of, this been my only guitar that I basically play ever since then. So, but it's made by this guy John Zeidler, and it's about it's 30 years old this year. This guitar.
Awesome.
So. Yeah,
you just made my dad's night. Thanks for that.
Cool.
And then where there was one other question I was going to actually try to answer for you, and then you can correct me. Where did they say I can't find it, but someone was asking what was the significance of 72nd Street where the picture was taken. And I was going to answer. I said, well, until 1995, Peter had never been south of 72nd Street except for gigs in the Village, right?
That's that was, we talked about Jimmy Katz and Dina doing this shoot. That's where they told me to meet. So that's where I went.
Because they had never been north of there. So
yeah, right. Yeah, no, we did a couple shots inside the park, and then that was just the Central Park west, looking west down 72nd. And there were cars on the street, as I said. They just somehow photoshopped them out, so the street does look empty. So it's more. But they were buses and everything, and taxis, and New York.
Yeah,
crazy.
and I encourage everybody the pickup, and this one thing we've been kind of promoting in this session, really just we've been getting back into is like having CDs. We're streaming the stuff on here, of course, because that's the only way we can do it. We're only about an hour ahead of the law right now, so your record label is probably gonna be coming for us at about 11 p.m. Eastern.
I don't think so.
Quickly,
I don't think so. It's like an hour. It's like an infomercial for the CD, though. I mean.
I know. Well, that's what you would think.
I had no idea.
You'd be amazed.
I really had no idea you were going to play the whole record, and that's cool with me. Like, it's fine,
Yeah,
I figured,
it's a pandemic, man. We're not animals, though.
I mean, if whoever's out there, if it sells 5 more copies, that could really impact sales.
No, but I was going to say
20% bump.
Yeah, really. No, but it's like, actually, I remember a few years ago, I had a tune that was on a pretty big jazz artist that's going to remain nameless just because this story is so ridiculous. But a pretty big artist on a major label, like the major label, jazz label out there, recorded one of my tunes. And I was like, oh, okay, now we're going to get into the big royalty money, Mac Avenue Records. Let's do this, Yeah. And I remember the first royalty statement I got, and it was like units sold. I was like, did something get rubbed off? Because it was like 17 or something. I was like, was that 1,700? I was looking at the top. Is this like in thousands or 10,000?
It's hard out there, guys. It's hard out here.
It is.
And I called them, and they were like, oh, don't worry, that's not the whole year sales. These are quarterly statements. I was like, that's not much better, man. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Quarterly.
Just release this thing.
Don't worry, it's just quarterly. Well, hey, music is out there now. That's just kind of the way it is.
I know, but you know what it is? What we realized from doing this, it's like so we did Shirley Horn. Well, we did we've done a Shirley Horn a couple times, but I featured a couple of her tracks on their record, I Love You Paris, which is one of my favorite records of hers. And after listening to it that night, I was like, you know what? I went on Amazon and ordered the CD. I was like, I got to own this. I got interested. Then I was like, then I got to find a CD player in the house. That was my next thing, But there's something about it. I think for your record, I would encourage folks to check it out because the art is great on it. Are there any plans to do LP? Does Smoke do they do LPs? Because this would be a good candidate for that.
Some LPs. They asked me about it, and they said they'd have to, put on it would be 6 tunes. So I have to choose some tunes to cut. I mean, and I forced my reaction is like, oh, 6 tunes, like a real jazz record.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When they used to make records in one day, but it was only 6 tunes.
Yeah.
Not
everything was 39 minutes long. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. I used to have cassettes, so I'd have one, two records on a 90-minute cassette. It's beautiful.
That's right.
Can I just do a little shout out for the CD though, because I've got my CD game back during pandemic too. I was listening to some Charles Lloyd earlier, and I was like, "This sounds great. It sounds real. I mean, it's really better than streaming." That said, let's get back to streaming.
Okay.
That was a seamless transition right there.
I was.
We're gonna go ahead here with Harbor.
What's the next tune?
Harbor No Illusions.
Oh, this has a killer solo. I mean, everybody's killing on this, but I think Sullivan's solo is. Didn't he solo first on this? Is this the one?
He does. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe
this is.
Yeah.
Let's check it out.
Check this closely.
It's Harbor No Illusions. That is Swinging.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Peter.
I'm trying to listen to myself to force I'm at a party. I don't want to be like a bad guest at the party and like excuse myself, but like I have a physical, when I listen to myself play, I just get really tense and I start to sweat and I really, it just is not a comfortable experience.
I'm with you. I'm always curious about the guests we have on the show.
I can't do it.
I know. Especially when it's this fresh, right? Because you've spent time probably listening to these as they're being mixed and mastered and all that stuff.
No.
You know? Nothing.
No, not really. I mean, because it depends. If no one will do it, I won't do it. Yeah. But if someone else steps up and says, and there were only like 2 takes of things anyway, and I kind of remember what wasn't, didn't have some problem form-wise or whatever. I kind of knew what the takes were. And just to be honest, it's like I just get no pleasure out of it. It's just kind of like I'm either relieved or I'm depressed. It's like slightly relieved, like or but really I'm just
like relieved is the top level, like that's just utter satisfaction.
But I'm even listening to like first few bars of these tunes. I'm kind of like, wow, the tempo, like it's funny. Like I just was in a different, like some of the slow tunes are kind of slower than I would play them, and then that was kind of up there, like a little faster than we played it on gigs before.
I had a really nice conversation with a really amazing tenor saxophone player that I won't name, even though this is hilarious. But he said, I've never listened to anything I've ever recorded. My plan is to start taking drugs as a hobby on my 90th birthday and just listen to my entire discography.
Well,
that's a good plan. I think
that's a good plan.
That's a solid plan.
When you're 90, you should be able to do exactly what you want.
Oh, totally.
That's right.
At that point.
Right.
But it's funny. I'm concerned with the next time that I do it. Like, so that, I mean, I care about the experience when it's happening, and I want to be in it. And when it's over, I might think about it and, feel things I can learn from or things that felt good. But to revisit it, it doesn't really give me any.
Yeah.
I don't get anything from it. And it's a weird thing. And like what I was thinking about the tempo, it's like, it's very, to that moment, like, well, I guess that's kind of where I counted it off. I guess I was thinking like we were doing a bunch of slow tunes and we got to have something fast on the record. So I'm kind of like, okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. Like that was, so if I played the tune tomorrow, I might have a different thing about the tempo. And that's so important as to what, as a tune that I play, or if I wrote it, I listen to it like, why is the tempo like that? And it could feel right one day and not right the next day. And it's not for me to enjoy or to obsess over either way. Right. That's kind of how I feel about it. And I've been trying to learn as I get, more experience playing with people enjoying gigs or whatever. It doesn't matter what I think, good or bad, especially bad, because then you can't even take a compliment if someone maybe even they're just trying to be nice and they just say, yeah, sounds good. You still have to rise to the occasion to accept that as a compliment, because they did say it, even if, however, whatever level of genuine, whatever, but still it's like, hey, you have to say thank you. It doesn't matter if you feel bad about, and this was something I remember dealing with when we were on the road with Josh, because it was my first time like playing every night, hearing myself kind of like struggle every night and just like feeling so bad about my playing all the time. And just like, it's a stupid place to be in, especially as a young musician like that, who still had so much to learn, as I still do, but even back then, way more, even about getting a sound and everything. So it's just like, I spent way too much time wallowing in like, so really I'm just trying to think like, you play and you try to be in the moment, and it doesn't matter really what you think about it, good or bad. And so to be confronted with it, it's like, I appreciate it, and I'm happy that there's some attention. So, but it's really like I'm only squirming about listening to it because I really don't. It's not for me, I got to get better at playing whatever tunes I want to go out and play. So that's what I'm concerned with. But you do learn something when you listen. I heard records I played on like 20 years ago, and it's like that's long enough ago. Whoever that person was, I can kind of forgive them. And just kind of say, all right, that's the best I could do at that time, But it is too close. But Too close can be like 5 to 10 years still. You know, it really depends, and it's really a state of mind. Like, I really will be in a room where something I'm on is playing, and I will just try to find another room to be in, you know, or hear something else, you know, just like I'd rather hear something else, anything else but this, you know.
Whatever your process is, whatever your process here is, don't change it on our account, because
it sounds totally jacked up, but the end result is awesome. So.
Yeah, I mean,
good.
If it helps you.
Good.
I totally get what you mean about you don't want to mess up the next time, right? You don't want to be in your head the next time you have to do these.
That's kind of what I feel.
Yeah,
you know?
I get it. Yeah. I get it. Man,
that's very New York. See, that's very New York, because only New Yorkers
keep your head down. Keep your head down and keep moving. Yeah.
That's right. You got to stay, but there's always something around the corner, you know. So it's like there's always the next set, the next gig, the next thing that's happening. When you're out here in the heartland, man, we got to hold on to what we got, man. That might be the one gig of the year, the one time something good is played, you know.
People in New York City, they're like walking too slow on the sidewalks. They're probably doing something like that, and that's why I just wanted to move faster. You know, it's just the typical New York thing.
But I do also think it speaks to like we are like what you're saying. This isn't for us. Is absolutely right, and it's also like we're the worst outside of be in the moment. I think as jazz musicians or just improvising artists, once you get past that point, we are the worst assessors of what the hell we're doing.
Terrible judges
of ourselves, you know.
Totally.
Because I can tell you that you're known, Peter, like far and wide, especially among guitar players, but just really good musicians and really good listeners. You're known as somebody that plays stuff that feels good. You know, like that's like one of your hallmarks, you know, you're that type of, I mean, you can geek out and go into a lot of, you know, fancy guitar stuff or whatever, but you're all about the feel and the phrasing and that kind of thing. So to hear you say like, oh, I can't stand hearing, like, whereas you're very much known and you excel at a style that is very like rewards careful listening, but in a way that you're like tapping your foot, and the more you concentrate, the better it feels. That's just like the kind of player you are. But the way you are hearing it and feeling it is the opposite. So you don't know what you're talking about, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I can be objective, and I'll you know, when I'm practicing, I'm really trying to pay attention to how it, you know, I'm focusing on the details, but once it's been done, you know what I mean? It's like, maybe you're just like a, you know, it's a chef, like a thing, like you're a chef, you give it for someone else to, you know, it's just for them. You put it on a plate for them. Right. And it's like,
you gotta,
but you're also, you're like a really, you're a really fun person to play with, though. You're not, I want people to understand. I can just say, like, from an insider standpoint, like, there's some players that are, it's so tortured for what they do that it's hard to even play with them because they're going through that tour. You're not like that on the band side. You're like so relaxed and easygoing, and you listen and you're having fun. So whatever it is, in the moment, it doesn't seem to affect you at all.
It's the time of the day to have fun. It's taken me a long time to realize that. But if you get to play music and you get to do that sometimes, especially with people, to share it with people, is what that's all about. Like, that's how we can have played together a lot 30 years ago and still feel like close as people because we experienced something that's that, you know, and
that's right.
It doesn't even matter where you go or what you do, but you can come back, and once you share that connection, it's always there. But I have tried over the years to really be like remembering, hey man, this is not the time of day to, you know, to dwell on anything negative, except just the you know, just dwell on the blessing that you're there, that you get a chance to experience playing an instrument and making it vibrate, and you know, putting some sounds out there and like play with people, to share with people. That's what it's about. Like, so it's definitely not the time to be like, oh, I'm not this enough or I'm not that enough. That means you kind of got the whole thing wrong. But or you're not appreciating the experience. But everyone has to go through maybe that to get to where they want to be as a musician too. Like, frustration is important. You can't just be like, whatever I do is cool all the time. You know, like, it's not about that. It's really just more about like, well, this is the time to enjoy this experience, and you know, beat yourself up later if you want, or better yet, just think about what you need to practice the next day and what your weaknesses are, how they're revealed to you through playing with people and getting out in the world. And if you're too much in your own head, you can't experience the world around you anyway. So
That's great stuff, man.
I'm just stalling because I don't want you to put another tune on.
No.
He's so tortured by his tones.
Hey guys, so, hold on. This is an impasse here because we're running a little low on time. We like to keep these a tight 90. And I have a bit of a surprise at the end that I want to save some time for. So, Peter Bernstein, if you had 2 tracks of what we have left to showcase, he can't do it. Skip it all. No, if you had to pick 2, do you have any?
Oh man, I have to enlarge the screen a little bit.
Are these like your babies? You can't pick one over the other.
No, I really have no. I have no preference, man.
Okay,
don't want to say it.
I'm gonna pick.
Well, we got to do the blues for sure. We got to do the blues because
the Blood Wolf Moon blues.
Yeah, man, we got to do that.
Let's do Con Alma because I love that tune and the Blood Wolf Moon blues. Sound good?
All right.
And after we do one of these, remind me. I want to ask you, since you're talking about playing with people, I want to ask about the Village Vanguard gig from last weekend because that was with the same band, right?
It was, yeah.
It was. I want to kind of hear about that. So can we talk about that after this too?
Sure.
All right. Here's Con Alma. Yeah, that's right. That's the Blood Wolf Moon Blues from Peter Bernstein's latest album. What comes next? It's Sullivan Fortner on piano. Hold on, Newark. Hold on. Sullivan Fortner on piano, Peter Washington on the bass, and Joe Farnsworth on the drums.
Peter
Bernstein. Thank you so much for being here tonight.
Thank you guys for having me.
So much fun to have you and to talk to you and to listen to your music, especially.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, guys.
See, when we bring out the big guns like Peter Bernstein, look at this. We got other big guns. Rodney Jones is in the house. The great,
beautiful,
guitarist. What's up, Rodney?
Master.
Yeah, man. All right, so I wanted to ask you real quick. I got two things to ask you about. One is the Vanguard last weekend. How did that go? What was that process? I amazingly had gigs both nights, so I didn't get to see it. But I've seen a little bit of their streaming gigs as well, of course. But I know you were just killing it. But how did you enjoy? I know you've done a couple of these at different places, but the Vanguard seems to be really doing it well.
Well, they do. Smoke also has a pretty high quality audio visual thing happening. Vanguard has taken the time to really do it right. And I mean, it was just crazy being in that place and just playing to nobody but the people that were two people that were there operating the stuff and all the pictures on the wall. I mean, it was an experience just to go down there and be in that space. But I mean, we just played together. With the streaming thing is really strange because you don't feel the audience, you don't feel any. You just kind of like a recording date, but you can't stop. You're supposed to play. Of course. So it's a little bit of I don't want to say the worst of both the gig and I mean it's a great, I mean, especially in this time, just to be able to go down there and play, as I say, like just to hear instruments in that space again, in that people just start warming up and then you hear the sound, like you hear the sound. That's the Vanguard. It's like the way instruments and vibrations exist in that space it's emotional just to be in there. But
I'm sure.
I mean, basically,
did you feel freer or did you feel more constricted without the audience, or did it just feel different?
Yeah, I like an audience. I mean, just because you can feel some energy from people. I mean, but like I say, like in this time, I'm happy just not to play in this room by myself, to go play with other musicians and just to hear other instruments live in a room is just great. It's just like, wow, it gets you excited. It gets your ears like, going salivating again, somehow. So and just, I mean, just to have any gigs in this time is just
that's crazy.
It's a miracle. It's really crazy. So it was a surreal experience. But usually, the Vanguard is one of the only place in New York City now that keeps weeks, and you have 6 nights. So it's kind of like this thing, you play a week, and at the end of the week, you have this kind of exhaustion feeling. But you've kind of gone through some growing pains just being in there and playing every night. Yeah. And
then Sunday, all the cats show up.
Sunday, all the cats show up. You're tired, but you feel good. I remember always feeling Monday after getting to play there for a week, like, you just feel. But this was like microwave week. We just went in there and played. So that was it. Twice. And over. So it was hey, it was great. A great experience. And to be able to get those guys and play some tunes from the record. And I actually had a brand new tune that we played on Saturday. I wouldn't normally do that on Saturday night at the Vanguard first set. Right. Like, hey, let's try this new tune we've never played before, but
see, you're lucky Lorraine's not around anymore. She would have heard you talk about that in the kitchen. She would have nixed that right there.
No, absolutely.
The second set on Tuesday, not the
third set on Saturday. That's when you can do that.
Matinee on Monday. That's good stuff. Hey. Okay, so we were talking about, man, I had so much stuff I wanted to ask you about, and we're running out of time, unfortunately. So we got to have you back.
Just don't play the record next time. Let's just hang.
Yeah, you know what? Next time, that's right.
That's really what I came for. Like, I wanted to hang, and I got these interludes of torture. It's like,
let me check my text. I'm pretty sure I said it's a listening sesh. I mean, I said we're going to banter too.
I thought it was
full disclosure. But I just want to throw this out there because you know, a lot of folks, first of all, like I was saying, pick up the CD if you guys get a chance, because some of the art's great. Look at that. Look at that. Amazing. I love this cover, man. Go ahead, Jimmy Katz, Jimmy and Dita. And look how cool Burns look. But I just want to tell you, the record that Peter is most known for, well, not most known for, but I remember back in the day, this was such a, like, cut your teeth. If you want to be a New York cat, you better know this record. What do you know about Signs of Life?
Cool.
You know, this is a classic, and not because of the shirt. Although
that's a classic shirt.
Now I've seen some guitar players around the world try to imitate. They spent more time trying to get your shirt together. They should have got your licks together, which they couldn't handle. But this with you and Brad and McBride and Hutch, this was such a classic. And then you guys did a live record a few years ago too, kind of bringing that group back. I always thought that was such a really great group, man, great quartet. Yeah. But this is in fact, I'm sure there's some hardcore fans, Bernstein fans out here that know this. This was not, in fact, your first record on Crisscross. Bam!
Second. That's the first.
He gets younger.
It gets worse.
What do you know about Something's Burning? Come on, man.
Oh, God.
Only disappointing part about that record is that Burnin' wasn't spelled with an E. That's it.
That's right.
I'm sure Teekins was just like so excited to, you know, something's burning. Yes, very good.
Yeah, that was.
Look, I'm just moving us all around.
That was his word. Yeah.
If you think about from this to this, I'm sorry, this is really poor taste, right? This is, look at that. Look, Young Gun, look how cool he is. It's a little bit reminiscent of a certain gentleman we all know. Oh, no, this is something else. Sorry. These are the guys. Classic trio, Bernstein, Stewart, Golden.
Aren't you glad he came on the show? It's great.
That's like a yearbook picture. That's awesome.
I know.
Look at Larry Golding's in that shot. He looks like he's about to sell me something.
Oh, my God.
No. I'm sorry, but what I wanted to do when we were going from this to this, what this reminds me of is, check this out. Boom. Jeff Bezos.
Really? Oh, my God.
Is that guy on the left Jeff Bezos?
Yeah, that's Jeff Bezos.
No way.
That's the progression. Yeah.
Oh man,
that's the same as that.
Come
on, now you see it, right?
Can't get through one of these sessions without shouting out Jeff Bezos.
Well, you know what Chris Rock said about him? He said he's so rich. He got divorced. He's still the richest man in the world.
That's right. It's funny.
That's saying true. Something. That's saying something.
But you know what would be great, man, would be get this, you know, because you guys have done some great records and great gigs. It would be great to get the three of you guys together on a sesh. Would they be up for that, you think?
For real.
Yeah. Why not?
Larry Goldings has been known to show up on the internet every now and then.
Oh, yeah. He's you know, I don't think 90 minutes is enough time for him. He might want to take
that'll be like a warm-up. That's like an intro.
Can we do like Saturday into Sunday? That's what he would need to do his full show.
There would be no music listening going on really at all in that case.
No, that wouldn't be.
So I want to go out on something. I want to just a little more torture here, Peter. But
more.
We can go out on this, officially go out, because YouTube will probably shut us down after a couple of minutes of this, but I just want to bring you all back.
After that shirt.
Yeah, I want to bring you all back to, what do you guys know about 1996? And we got a little Joshua Redman quintet, hide and seek, featuring a very young Peter Bernstein, Brian Blade, Christopher Thomas, and Peter Martin on the piano.
Everybody's young.
Everybody's young here, including Joshua Redman. Thanks, everybody, for listening tonight. We're going to be back, of course, next Tuesday. What else do we have to do? Where else are we going to go? But
pandemic,
thank
so
you.
We'll be here.
Thank you, Peter Martin. Thank you so much, Peter Bernstein, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Birds, man. I love you, man. Thank you for the album. Too. Everybody go.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, everybody go out and pick it up, man. Love to the family, and thanks for being here and torturing yourself, but pleasing all of us.
Yeah. I appreciate that, man. Really do. I really do.
All right, guys.
Thanks.
Have a great night. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Oh, wow.
Peace.
Wow.